And y'all, I struggled to pay attention during this date. Did y'all see what Jonathon was wearing? He had on them hoochie daddy shorts. How am I supposed to pay attention to what's coming out of his mouth when he got on them shorts and he's showing off that leg tattoo? Hi everyone, my name is Demetri and welcome back to DemetriTube. The Bachelorette, Night 7, let's talk about it. As always, if you're enjoying my videos, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. I'm a growing YouTuber and the like subscribes really help me out. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get started. And first up is Grant is the new and next Bachelor. So the announcement of Grant being Bachelor was just very weird to me. So on like the Bachelor ABC page on Instagram, ABC posted some footage of Grant's final one-on-one dinner date with Jen. And then in the comments, they were like, your next Bachelor. Like, that was weird. And they also posted a promo video of him going on the Viall Files. And it was just like a promo video for his interview with, Nick Viall, sorry. I totally forgot he existed. Overall, I'm super excited they chose Grant. I think this is a really good choice, but I will tell all of you straight up, I was surprised they chose Grant because I did not think they were gonna choose another Black Bachelor this soon again. And also, I knew ABC was gonna choose someone tall. It was either gonna be Spencer or it was gonna be Grant. Cause keep in mind, y'all, Joey Graziati, to me, he was the exception, not the rule. So because of that, I really thought they were gonna go with Spencer, but I'm happy they chose Grant and I'm excited they're going in this direction. Next thing that I thought was really weird is why did they not do a grand announcement? Like, why did they announce it so soon? If y'all remember at the end of Joey's season, like we were on pins and needles waiting to figure out who was gonna be the next Bachelorette lead. Like we didn't know if it was gonna be Maria or Kelsey or what was that girl's name? Or Daisy or Jen. Like we truly had no idea and they kept us on our toes till the last minute and they made a grand announcement on the finale. I don't understand why they didn't do like a grand announcement for Grant. And low-key, I just feel like we were robbed because that truly is like one of my favorite parts of the finale. But I think ABC did it because they made him lead and they're probably gonna wait and see if any like dirt comes out on him. So if any dirt does come out, maybe they could switch him for someone else, like there would be time. And last thing I wanna say about Grant being lead is what are the timelines? Like the timelines of all of this are really confusing me. So normally they would start filming Bachelor like next week, or if anything they would have started filming right now, but they changed up the scheduling because Bachelorette is still on and then Golden Bachelorette will be airing. I think they're starting at like September 18th or something. So basically these are my questions and ABC is probably just going to change up the formatting of all of this, but I'm pretty sure Golden Bachelor was only an hour-long format and I'm assuming Golden Bachelorette will be the same. It's going to be an hour-long. I really don't think they're going to go to a 2-hour format, but they could. And normally The Bachelor starts airing right as the new year starts, which means they need to start filming Bachelor right now. But the problem with that is normally they give potential contestants time to apply. Like the next Bachelor is announced and then they give them time. Like, oh my God, Grant is the Bachelor, I'm gonna apply. Usually there's some time, but again, they need to start filming ASAP because usually they start filming in like, I wanna say like late August or September so they can finish before Thanksgiving. And that really does not leave a lot of time for like kind of new contestants to apply. And not only that, Paradise is supposed to come back in 2025 as well. So are we about to go back to like a year-round Bachelor format? Like we're just gonna be watching it all year nonstop? Because I appreciate the breaks. Like last spring when we had that 3-month break, I appreciated that. And I hope we don't go back to the year-long Bachelor format. In general, the show is just better when they give you some time to miss it. And I think that's all I got. Let me know in the comments if you have any other thoughts on Grant being the next lead, and let's dive into the episode. So first up for hometowns is Devin, and we are in Houston, Texas. And the date starts off, they're in this park. They don't say the name of this park, but I have seen this park on this show so many times. And don't get me wrong, it's a gorgeous park, but like, is there nowhere else in Houston to go? And definitely the last time we saw this park was during, what's his name? was during Zach's season. Greer was from Houston, and I want to say in her intro package, they definitely went to this park. Next, if you made it this far in the video, please go ahead and pound that like button for the YouTube algorithm. So for the date, Devin introduces Jenn to his run club, and then they go for a mile run, and Jenn has the opportunity to also meet his dog. And like, you have me up. I would hate to do this for a date. So just a heads up, I tried to do a 5K like last June. I was preparing for it, and like, y'all, my ankle just could not take, like, I'm just too heavy now. I can't run like long distances outside. Next, I absolutely hate running inside. I'd rather run at the gym where there's air conditioning, there's water, there's amenities. Like, running outside is just not ideal for me. Like, I understand why people like it, but it's just not for me. Also, it gets so hot in Texas. Like, I think that they have really bad humidity, I think, too. Like, this date just wasn't it. But also, at the same time, this was a good choice for ABC because ABC tends to be behind the curve sometimes, but run clubs are very trendy right now. So this kind of was a good choice for ABC. And don't get me wrong, I'd be open to doing a gym date, but I just wouldn't want to do a running date. And not really much happens during the day portion, but there's just two things I want to mention. First, Devin seemed very uncomfortable and very nervous to me, and we're gonna unpack that a little more later. And the second thing, at one point, Devin and Jenn are having a one-on-one, and Devin explains that his dad will be present. Like, so his dad was like not involved in his life growing up, but Devin tells her that his dad will be present and he still wants his dad's opinion. That was just very weird to me. Like, earlier in the season, Devin explained that his dad was in and out of his life and he was not there for his mom, and yet he still wants his opinion on his future partner. Like, I just thought that was kind of weird. Then we move on to the night portion, and Jenn's dress was really cute, but in my opinion, I don't think it was really her. In general, this episode, Jenn was way more demure and way more mindful than usual, and it just felt like she was trying to clean it up for hometowns because she knew she was meeting the contestants' families. Anyways, so Jenn gets the opportunity to meet Devin's mom, dad, stepdad, and I think his brother. And at one point, Devin is having a one-on-one, I believe, with his mom, and he says, "I don't want to tell her I love her," and then her turn around and say she loves someone else. This part was interesting because let me know below in the comments what y'all thought, but Devin's energy just overall seemed really different. Throughout most of this competition, he was like the most confident guy, and now in this moment, he doesn't seem confident at all that he's gonna win and that Jenn is gonna pick him. And he just didn't really seem like his normal self to me, and I'm pretty sure Jenn will clock this. Like, yes, I get he was nervous, but at the same time, Devin also just seemed uncomfortable to me too. And overall, it just seems like the competition is starting to get to Devin, and he even says, "I want to be the only one." And just a few more things I want to mention. At the end of the day, Devin tells her, "I love you." And then also, Jenn was having a one-on-one with Devin's mom, and just Jenn's expression after his mom says, like, "Don't break my son's heart," or something like that, her expression did not look promising. But then at the same time, at the end of the date, the kisses Devin and Jenn had were just so passionate. So like, I have no idea who Jenn's gonna pick. After that, we move on to the next hometown with Jeremy, and we are in Fairfield, Connecticut. And yep, it's that time, outfit of the episode. For this week's outfit of the episode, I'm giving it to Jenn during the start of her one-on-one with Jeremy. And y'all, I am not even gonna attempt to try to tell y'all what color this outfit is because Jenn constantly wears colors that I'm just not really certain what it is. So I'm just not even gonna try. But Jenn is wearing a white sweater, like a military jacket, and then she pairs it with some dark pants and these like knee-high boots. And by the way, she loves these boots. She wore them this episode, she wore them last week on her date with Marcus, and she also wore them when they were in New Zealand. Like, she adores these boots. Jenn loves wearing like whites and creams, and she also loves wearing very neutral tones, and it's just hard for me to tell often what colors they actually are. Overall, this is a cute outfit. It's not like the best outfit, but in general, the outfits this episode like weren't all that. So for the date, they go to a grocery store, and it's not like an average grocery store. It's like more of a specialty grocery store. They have like all these animatronic gimmicks, and they also make donuts on site. There's ice cream, popcorn, lobster rolls. This is actually like a really cool grocery store. And Jeremy at one point says like, maybe we could take our kids here one day. And to me, this grocery store kind of caters to kids. It's like really cool. But I love how like sentimental Jeremy is. Like he wants to take his kids to a grocery store that he loved growing up. Like I just love that. And in my opinion, this was a very creative choice for a date, but I just don't think it was the best choice. Like, don't get me wrong, I would love to go on a grocery store date, but I feel like most people are just like too bougie for that. But just to be on camera and go to this grocery store, I just don't think it was like the best choice. But in defense of Jeremy's choice, if you can go on a date with someone to a place like this and have an amazing time, to me, that just speaks volumes. And last thing I want to mention about the date, while they were on the date, Jeremy spots his aunt and introduces her to Jen. And like, is Jeremy's mom a twin? Because I swore Jeremy's mom and aunt looked like twins. After that, Jen gets to meet the family. She meets Jeremy's mom, two sisters, one of the sisters' fiancés, and Jeremy's stepdad. And overall, his family was super New York to me. Jeremy explains what he did for his intro package when he first met Jen, and his mom was shocked because if y'all don't remember, he drove in the really nice sports car, and he said something about guys with like nice cars overcompensate, but he's got a really big one or something like that. The rest of his family like brushed it off and made a joke about it, but his mom looked so embarrassed, and just the whole moment was just so New York to me. And then Jeremy's little sister spills all the tea. The little sister has a one-on-one with Jen, and she straight up tells her Jeremy is probably not ready for this timeline, and he wants a partner, but will probably not be ready at the end of this. And then Jeremy has a one-on-one with his little sister, and she tells Jeremy, Jen says you have walls up and haven't gone deep enough. And Jeremy is genuinely shocked at this. And in this moment, Jeremy just sounded so naive. From what we've seen of their relationship so far, they have not gone too deep, and Jeremy knows whether or not he's gone deep with Jen. So maybe he was just more surprised that Jen said this to his little sister. Maybe that's why he was surprised, not the fact that they hadn't gone deep. I don't know. And sidebar, Jeremy's mom's house had really good lighting. Like the lighting during all of these scenes was like amazing. And then after that, Jeremy has a one-on-one with his mom. And Jeremy says they've had a lot of fun, but they haven't gone that deep yet. And his mom responds and is like, but do you know her well enough? This is not a game. And then Jeremy responds and says Jen likes him the most. And again, he just sounded like super naive. And then Jen has a one-on-one with Jeremy's mom, and Jen calls him a mushball and says she wouldn't have brought him to hometowns if she didn't see a future with him. And then the mom responds back and is like, I just met you. And then she later says, I think if it's the right person, he could be ready. That really showed me I don't think Jeremy's mom thinks Jen is right for him. And then at the end of the day, when Jeremy and Jen say goodbye, Jeremy tells Jen he's falling for her, and he also says, you make me so happy. And at this point in their relationship, Jeremy should be digging deeper. You make me so happy is just not good enough. We need more of a proclamation, or we just need something deeper, and like their relationship just is not very deep at this point. After that, we move on to Jonathon, and we are in San Diego, California. And y'all, I struggled to pay attention during this date. Did y'all see what Jonathon was wearing? He had on them hoochie daddy shorts. How am I supposed to pay attention to what's coming out of his mouth when he got on them shorts and he's showing off that leg tattoo? This man has amazing legs, and I love his leg tattoo. And I probably sound like such a guy right now, but I was struggling to focus on anything but those legs. For the date, Jenn and Jonathon play lacrosse, which I don't love, but it makes sense, and they pop some champagne. And not really much happens on the date, but I do want to mention one thing. Jenn and Jonathon have a one-on-one, and Jonathon says,
I don't use the term love lightly. I don't want to say love if I'm not fully there. My worst nightmare would be for you to be like, why do you love me? And me not being able to give an answer wholeheartedly and honestly.
So basically, his worst nightmare is doing what Sam M did last week. After that, we meet Jonathon's family. We meet his mom, dad, brother, sister, and sister-in-law. And his sister-in-law was very pregnant. Also, his brother had really pretty brown eyes. No wonder his brother and his sister-in-law exchanged I love yous on the third date. And I don't know how y'all felt about Jonathon's sister-in-law, but I'm gonna read her real quick. So Jonathon's sister-in-law explains how she met Jonathon's brother. The sister-in-law says that she relates to Jonathon and Jen's situation because they met on Tinder, and she just says, like, when you know, you know. And they met 7 years ago, and they've been married for 4 years. She agrees that yes, the process is sped up, but if it's the right person, then you know. So I know Jonathon's sister-in-law means well, etc., etc., but meeting someone on an app is very different from meeting someone on The Bachelorette. So when you meet someone on an app, there is personal choice here. When you're dating that person, you and that person are like choosing to speed it up. Whereas on The Bachelorette, production is forcing you to speed it up. Next, Jonathon is a contestant. So he has no other choice but to date Jenn. And yes, when he was in the real world and when he gets back to the real world, he can date someone else. But when he's in this process, he truly can't date anyone else. Whereas on the app, you can still date other people. And last thing I want to say, because you could literally create an entire video on the difference between The Bachelorette and the apps, but I don't have all day. So Jonathon's brother and sister-in-law met on the apps 7 years ago, which was 2017. And y'all, the apps were way different in 2017 than they are now. Somebody had this like viral tweet and it said 2019 truly was the last helicopter out of Nam. And I 100% agree. Literally after the pandy, the apps have just gotten so horrible. And for those of you watching this video that are taken off the dating market, are happily married, etc., count your blessings every day and praise God every day that you don't have to deal with the bullshit. But long story short, before the pandy, I feel like it was seen as more taboo to meet someone off the apps. Like if you were looking for a date on the apps, you were viewed as like more desperate. But after the pandy, now the tables have turned. Now, for the most part, people think it's weird if you connect with someone outside of the apps. People think that's weird. Most people think the only way to meet people is from the apps. And basically, these tech companies are wreaking total havoc over our lives, and they're doing a pretty good job at it. I feel like before the pandy, when people would log on to these dating apps, they had more of a purpose. Now, when people log on to these dating apps, it's just because like they're bored and they're just trying to waste time. Like they've definitely gamified them. And this is just my personal opinion. When people give these anecdotes about how they met off a dating app and especially if it was pre-pandy, I'd struggle to take it seriously because I'm just like, that was probably the perfect time to use the apps. The apps are not like how they were in 2017. You're well and deep in the trenches now. Anywho, I digress. After that, Jonathon and Jenn have various conversations with the fam. There wasn't really anything notable here, but Jenn keeps saying that Jonathon is holding back. And honestly, it was hard to take Jenn seriously this episode because other than Devin, she said everyone was holding back. Jonathon was holding back, Devin was holding back, and Marcus was holding back as well. But I do want to point out, at one point, Jonathon was having a one-on-one with his mom, and his mom encourages him to open up. But Jonathon tells her, and he's basically referring to the side of Jenn he's getting. He's like,
is this what she wants me to see or what she really is?
And I'm like, oh, I was shocked he said that. So yes, part of this is because of his ex, but also Jonathon is truly worried. Is the Jenn I'm getting in The Bachelorette, is this the Jenn I'm gonna get in the real world? So he possibly thinks she's being a little fake. And having that feeling is truly understandable because they do not get a lot of time together, and then the cameras are rolling, they're constantly rolling, there's producers everywhere. So it's understandable to think, is the person I'm getting right now the same person I'm gonna get in the real world when the cameras aren't rolling? But I was just more surprised that Jonathon verbalized this. And spoiler alert, Jonathon does get to go to fantasy suites, so they're gonna get to have some time to themselves with the cameras off. So I think that's gonna do wonders for him. And then at the end of the day, Jonathon calls her Jennifer Tran, and like it was just funny hearing him say her full government name. And then Jonathon admits that he's falling for her. And the kisses in this scene were also very passionate. After that, we have our final hometown date with Marcus, and we go to Tacoma, Washington. And like, I didn't know Marcus was from Tacoma. Like, he literally just had a date with Jen in Seattle. Like, so it's wonderful that he got another date with Jen, but personally, I would rather have a date in a city that I'm not close to, preferably a city I don't live like 30 miles away from. Sorry, I hope that makes sense. I'm talking about like last week when they had the Wicked date. It was in Seattle, Washington. Like, if I ever went on this show and then I got a one-on-one date and they were like, Demetri, you're having a one-on-one date in Washington, DC, I would roll my eyes so hard, because I would just be like, I live in this city. Like, can I have a date anywhere else? And yes, that may sound kind of petty, but like, whatever. If ABC is fully funding a date, I would much rather it be in a city that I'm not already constantly in. For the date, Marcus and Jen go to a cookout and they meet all of his friends. And the only thing that was kind of weird about this was normally there's like a day portion of the date for just Marcus and Jen, but they didn't get that. All they did, they just went straight to the cookout and met the family. And Jen did not get a chance to meet Marcus's adoptive parents. So I don't think that's weird. Like, some people just don't want to go on the show. And Marcus's adoptive parents may have just not wanted to go on the show. So they met his friends and then like two older friends who I guess were kind of mentors to him, which, I mean, that's better than nothing, right? But the only problem is this could have been like a negative for Marcus and Jen's head, because all of the other contestants had really cool families. Jeremy's family was cool, Jonathon's family was really cool, and who's the other one? Oh, and Devin's family was pretty cool too. So like, in Jen's head, that may have been like a little bit of a negative, but whatever, you can't change your family, it is what it is. And sidebar, this is one of the best hometowns episodes we've had in a while. And another sidebar, the scenery and backdrops for Marcus's hometown date were just so gorgeous. Washington State in general is just really pretty. Anyways, going back to Marcus's hometown, I hate to say this, but to me, Marcus had the worst hometown date. Like, out of all of the hometowns, this was just the most generic one, and we really didn't learn much more about Marcus. And we get the storyline that Marcus truly has trouble opening up, and they're kind of foreshadowing that he may not be able to get there. And at one point, Jen was having a one-on-one with Marcus's sister, and Jen dug deep and she started crying. And Jen tells Marcus's sister that she's falling in love with him. But y'all, these tears felt like to me that she's gonna break Marcus's heart. Like, I've said this earlier in the season, I just have this feeling that Jen is just gonna break that man's heart. And in this moment that Jen had with the sister, I felt like that's why she was crying, not because she was like falling in love with him and worried he wouldn't open up. And then at the end of the hometown date, Marcus tells Jen that he's falling for her. After that, we get back to LA, and just overall on this episode, Jen really kept face, because I have no idea who she's going to choose in the end of all this. And I don't know if y'all caught this, but the moment Jen got back to LA, she was like, I'm done being demure, I'm done being mindful, I have dressed like a grandma all week, and now my titties gotta come back out. Did y'all see this number that she wore immediately when she got back to LA? This is very different from what she was serving during every single one of them hometowns. Jen was literally like, being demure last week was cute, but now I gotta let the girls breathe. And then in the next scene, all of the contestants meet up and then they grab a beer before the rose ceremony, and I've never seen them do this before. Like, this is very unique and I don't love this. I'd rather see the contestants argue, but here we are. And they all just discussed their relationship with Jen a little bit, but I do want to point out two things that Devin said. So Devin said when Jen came over to his hometown, he was cool, calm, and collected, and when he brought over other girls home, he was nervous. And I thought that was a straight up lie. Devin was very nervous when he brought Jen home. And just like he did with Sam M earlier in the season, like, he's just trying to get in the other contestants' heads, and like, I don't understand why he does this. And I know some of y'all are truly rooting for Devin, but my problem with Devin is he just truly be acting kind of different depending on who he's around. And in this moment, to me, it just looked like he has no confidence in his relationship with Jen, and I don't think he thinks he's gonna win. Because if I was in his position, in my head, I would just be like, well, let the best man win. Because apparently you're friends with all these guys, so just let the best man win. You don't need to try to get in these guys' heads right before the final rose ceremony y'all have together. And then immediately after that, Devin says he feels behind and he's not ready to propose. And Marcus tells the other guys that he got some clarity, but it still feels very unclear to him. After that, we move on to the rose ceremony, and Marcus got a fade, and it looks really good. And during this rose ceremony, other than Jeremy, none of these guys were wearing ties, and it really looked like they did not give a f. Like, what are we doing? This is a rose ceremony. Pull it together. And not only that, it's like the final rose ceremony. Anyways, so during this rose ceremony, ABC pulled out all the dramatics, and I truly for a second thought Jeremy may be staying for another week, but Jeremy ends up getting sent home. And Jeremy getting sent home was not surprising at all. To be honest, I'm still shocked he made it this far. But in Jeremy's defense, he was really selling the fantasy, because for a second there at the rose ceremony, I thought he was about to make it to Fantasy Suites. And to make it even better, Jeremy very much understood the assignment. He wore a tie and he looked so good during this exit. Like, I was proud of him in this moment. Maybe we'll get to see him in paradise. Who knows? And that is the end of the episode and the end of this review. I cannot wait to see you all next week in paradise. Apparently there's like 2 episodes next week. I don't know when I'm gonna drop the videos. I'll figure it out. If there's 2 episodes and they're both 2 hours long, I gotta figure that out, but I'll definitely get the video to you at some point. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.